When Michael Jordan walks into a courtroom to fight against NASCAR, you know something big is going down. The basketball legend just spent an hour on the witness stand, and what he said could change racing forever. This all happened on Friday, December 5th in a packed federal courthouse in Charlotte, North Carolina. So many people showed up that they had to set up 2 extra overflow rooms just so everyone could watch. The judge even made a joke when Jordan was about to testify, saying, "I take it Mr. Jordan is the next witness." People were literally being turned away at the door because there was no more space. The day started with Steve O'Donnell, who is NASCAR's president, finishing up his testimony. He talked about a lot of things, but here's what matters. During the charter negotiations, NASCAR tried to propose a cost cap, which is basically a limit on how much teams can spend. Some teams liked it, some didn't, so NASCAR just dropped the whole idea. O'Donnell also told a story about a meeting that got pretty heated. Curtis Polk, who works for Jordan's team, got really aggressive during negotiations. O'Donnell said Polk even threatened to kick him out of his own meeting. O'Donnell called it the most difficult meeting he's ever had with anyone. But then Jeffrey Kessler, the lawyer for the race teams, fired back. He reminded O'Donnell about some private messages NASCAR executives sent about team owners like Richard Childress and Heather Gibbs. Those messages showed that NASCAR wasn't exactly being respectful behind closed doors either. O'Donnell also tried to compare NASCAR to IndyCar racing. He said IndyCar teams only get 25% of what it costs to run their cars from the TV money, but Kessler showed that IndyCar's total TV deal is only worth $8 million a year. When you do the math, IndyCar actually gives its teams 200% of the TV money they make. NASCAR only gives teams 45%. That didn't look good for NASCAR's argument. When Kessler asked why NASCAR won't make charters permanent like franchises in other sports, O'Donnell said there are too many unknowns. He said NASCAR needs to stay flexible because they don't know what cars teams will need to use in the future. He also admitted that NASCAR's board flat out rejected the idea of permanent charters. Then came Heather Gibbs, and her testimony hit everyone right in the heart. Heather is the co-owner of Joe Gibbs Racing, one of the most successful teams in NASCAR history with 5 championships. But she didn't plan to be a team owner. She became one the day after her husband, Coy Gibbs, died suddenly in his sleep in 2022. This was the first time she talked publicly about losing her husband. It happened the same night their son Ty won a championship. You could tell it was emotional for her. Heather even made a joke during her testimony that made the whole courtroom laugh. She said Joe Gibbs Racing should actually have 6 championships, not 5. Denny Hamlin was leading the championship race at Phoenix with just 2 laps left when a caution came out and they lost. Everyone needed that light moment. But things got serious when she talked about a letter she wrote to NASCAR. She sent it to Jim France, who basically runs NASCAR, along with other top NASCAR officials. In the letter, she explained why permanent charters were so important to her family and the team. NASCAR executive Steve Phelps had called team owners reckless with their spending, and that really bothered her. Heather said she got a nice response from Lisa France Kennedy, and it seemed like NASCAR might actually listen. But here's the thing. Internal messages between NASCAR executives told a different story. Steve O'Donnell sent a message to other NASCAR bosses while watching Jim France read Heather's letter out loud. O'Donnell said France was swearing every other sentence because he was so angry. Later, O'Donnell tried to say that was just a figure of speech, but the damage was done. For Heather and her father-in-law, Coach Joe Gibbs, permanent charters weren't just nice to have. They were the most important thing they were fighting for. She said teams need to know their investment can't just be taken away. Joe Gibbs Racing has 450 employees who depend on the team staying in business. That's a lot of families counting on this. So why did Joe Gibbs Racing sign the charter agreement if they didn't like it? Heather explained it simply. The document was something in business you would never sign. It was like a gun to your head. If you don't sign, you have nothing. She's a licensed real estate agent, so she knows business deals. And she said this was one of the worst she'd ever seen. NASCAR gave all the teams until 6 o'clock on Friday, September 6th, to sign a 112-page agreement. 6 hours to decide the future of their entire business. 13 teams signed. Only Jordan's team in Front Row Motorsports said no. Heather warned that the way this new agreement is written, teams could face the same situation again in 7 years. Then it was Michael Jordan's turn, and you could feel the energy change in the room. Jordan explained that he's been a NASCAR fan since he was about 11 or 12 years old. His dad was friends with a NASCAR team owner named Hoss Ellington, who would tell the Jordan family what was happening in the races when they weren't on TV. Jordan's family would drive 10 hours to go to races at Talladega. He called these trips family vacations. Even though Jordan owns the team, he's not there every single day making decisions. He goes to about 10 to 12 races a year, but he watches every single race. "I never miss a race," he said. He helps the team get sponsors and backs them financially. But mostly he's there as a super fan who happens to own the team. Jordan has put between $35 and $40 million into 23XI Racing. Last year, while all these charter problems were happening, he spent $28 million to buy a third charter from Stewart-Haas Racing. Why would he do that if things were so uncertain? Jordan said Denny Hamlin convinced him that having 3 cars would give them a better shot at winning a championship. "I'm pretty sure they know I love to win," Jordan said. "Denny convinced me getting a third driver improved our chances to win, so I dove in." So why didn't Jordan sign NASCAR's charter deal? He said it just wasn't a smart business decision. The contract also had a part that said he couldn't sue NASCAR, and Jordan thought that was wrong. But the real breaking point was that September 6th deadline. NASCAR basically said sign right now or lose everything. That was too much. Jordan said team owners have been asking for permanent charters since before he even got into NASCAR, but NASCAR never seriously talked about it. Teams ask for 4 main things: permanent charters, a say in how the sport is run, money from other business opportunities, and a share of any new money NASCAR makes. NASCAR said no to all of it. Without permanent charters, Jordan said teams have no real power when they negotiate with NASCAR. It's completely one-sided. And here's the thing that really matters. Jordan's team actually makes money. They made over $2 million in 2022 and more than $3.5 million in 2023. Most NASCAR teams lose money every single year. Bob Jenkins from Front Row Motorsports said he's lost about $100 million since he started his team in the early 2000s, even though he won the Daytona 500 in 2021. So Jordan isn't doing this for himself. He's doing it for the other owners. Someone had to step forward and challenge the entity, Jordan told the jury. "I sat in those meetings with longtime owners who were browbeaten for so many years, trying to make a change. I was a new person. I wasn't afraid. I felt I could challenge NASCAR as a whole. I felt as far as the sport, it needed to be looked at from a different view." Jordan said NASCAR claims it wants to be partners with everyone involved in the sport, but that's not what's really happening. NASCAR is a private company, and the teams are just contractors working for them. Jordan compared it to the NBA, where the league, the teams, and the players are all true partners. "The thing I see in NASCAR that I think is absent is a shared responsibility of growth as well as loss," Jordan explained. "If you share responsibility, the healthiness of the sport can grow. It needed to be looked at from a whole different perspective." When NASCAR's lawyer got to question Jordan, things stayed pretty respectful. Jordan admitted that when he first became a team owner in 2021, NASCAR and the France family were really welcoming. He gave them credit for building the sport. He even said he told Jim France, "You and your family did a great service to the sport by starting the charter system." Jordan admitted he thinks charters are a good idea and that they help teams get sponsors. He just wants them to be permanent and fair. At the end, NASCAR's lawyer Lawrence Buterman said, "Thank you for making my 9-year-old think I'm cool today.